She slapped him, not in passion, not in a fit of rage, but slowly, almost ceremoniously, as if signing a check. Her palm cracked across his face with such force that the sound echoed through the living room, bounced off the crystal vases, and made the framed portraits on the walls tremble. Edward didn't even blink. He stood there, carved from stone, an ashtray in one hand and a cigar long extinguished in the other. His eyes, gray, utterly unsurprised, looked right through her, as if she no longer existed. "You knew," Evelyn hissed. "You knew the whole time." He didn't answer. He simply set the ashtray on the table and brushed the back of his hand across the reddening imprint on his cheek. "And what will you do now?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Call the police? Demand a trial? You know it's pointless. Mom wrote the will herself. The lawyer will confirm it. Mom was sick." Evelyn shouted, her fists clenched so tightly her knuckles turned white. She had dementia. She couldn't even remember her own name at the end. "And you visited every week, brought her chocolate, kissed her forehead, smiled like you were some kind of saint. But all along, you were just waiting for her to die so you could take everything for yourself." "I wasn't the only one who could have visited," Edward said calmly. "You never came. Not once." Evelyn spun away as if struck again. She walked to the window. Outside lay the immaculate garden of their childhood home. Roses, a pristine lawn, a bench beneath the apple tree where their father used to read the morning paper. All of it now belonged to her brother. Everything. Even the old family photos. Even her childhood drawings still pinned to the fridge with heart-shaped magnets. All of it his. She took a deep breath. The air was warm, scented with jasmine and the faint rot of fallen leaves. Autumn always arrived suddenly in this state. "I did come," she whispered. "You just never saw me." "The cameras saw," Edward cut in. "Mom had cameras in the living room and kitchen. I checked. For 3 years, not a single visit from you." Evelyn turned back. Tears pooled in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "You don't understand," she said. "You never did." "Then explain," he offered. "We still have time. The house doesn't sell for another 2 weeks." She looked at him, this tall, immaculate man in an expensive suit, his hair perfectly combed, his speech flawlessly measured. He'd gone to Yale, married a judge's daughter, had 3 children, all with names starting with A and Andrew Alice. He'd always done everything right. Even now. And she lived in a trailer by the lake, worked as an accountant at a small firm, divorced twice, childless. And yes, she hadn't visited their mother. But not because she didn't love her. Because she couldn't bear to watch the proud, sharp woman who once made her embroider names onto napkins and recite poetry from memory slowly disappear. Mom forgot who she was. Forgot what she'd eaten for breakfast. Once, she tried to leave the house in her nightgown, clutching her purse, insisting she was off to buy milk, just like I always did. And then, out of nowhere, she'd remember the name of Evelyn's childhood friend, someone she hadn't seen since she was 15. It was unbearable. "I couldn't watch her fade away," Evelyn said. "Every time I came, she'd look at me like I was a stranger. Ask, 'Who are you?' I couldn't take it. I'd leave. And then I couldn't bring myself to come back." "And I could," Edward said. "I saw it all. Every day. I fed her, bathed her, changed her clothes, put her to bed, cleaned up after her. You think that was easy? No. But you did it for the inheritance," she cried. "Don't lie. You never loved her more than I did." "Maybe not," he replied evenly. "But I didn't abandon her. That counts for something." Silence thickened between them like fog. Somewhere in the house, an antique clock ticked, their father's anniversary gift. Evelyn remembered fighting with her mother over it. Mom had wanted to give it to Edward, but Evelyn had begged for it. She'd always been closer to Dad. But Dad had said, "Let the clock keep time. Who inherits it, time itself will decide." Now time had chosen. "You have no right to take this house," Evelyn said. "It's my history too. My memories. My childhood." "Memories aren't inherited by law," Edward answered. "Only possessions. And property rights. You're going to sell it, aren't you? You've already found a buyer." He didn't deny it. "Yes. A family from California." They want to turn it into a spa retreat. They'll tear down the garden, renovate the house, but they'll keep the facade. That's part of the deal. The facade? Evelyn laughed, bitter and sharp. You'll keep the shell but gut the heart. Just like always. It's business, he said. The house is worth over $1 million. Inheritance isn't just feelings, Evelyn. It's numbers. Taxes. Responsibilities. Did you ever stop to think she might have wanted something else? That maybe she didn't want your perfect children running through here, laughing at our old toys? She wrote the will 6 months before her diagnosis, while she was still fully aware, Edward said. I didn't forge anything. It's all legal. She looked at him, really looked, for the first time in years. And suddenly noticed the dark circles under his eyes, the deep lines around his mouth that hadn't been there before. He'd aged. And he was exhausted. Far more than she was. How much sleep did you get these past 3 years? She asked softly. For hours a night, if I was lucky, he admitted, not hiding his fatigue. And no one helped you? Did you offer? He asked, but without anger. Just stating a fact. I didn't know, she began. Of course you didn't. You never asked. She lowered her head. Shame crept up behind her like a shadow, coiling around her throat. I'm sorry, she whispered. Edward was silent. Then he walked to the bar, poured 2 glasses of bourbon, their father's favorite, and handed her one. Remember how we'd hide in here when Mom and Dad fought? He asked. Yes, she smiled faintly. You always brought candy. I'd say I was scared, and you'd say, they won't leave. They're just yelling. And they never did, he said. 50 years of marriage. But she trailed off. We drifted apart, he finished. Not because we stopped loving each other, but because we assumed we knew what the other was thinking. She took a sip. The bourbon burned her throat like old wounds. What do you want from me? He asked. Money? A share of the house? Or just to admit you had a right to be here too? She hesitated. I want to take one thing. Just one. What? The letter. The one Mom wrote Dad before their wedding. She always kept it in the jewelry box on her dresser. I have it, he said. I moved all her papers into storage. Did you read it? No. I don't read other people's letters. Not even the Dad's. She looked at him, surprised. Thank you. Take it, he said. And you can stay the night if you want. I leave in the morning. And the house? The sale's on hold, he said. The buyers can wait. I changed my mind. Why? Because he looked out the window at the apple tree where their father read the New York Times every morning. Because a facade without a heart isn't a home. It's a tomb. She didn't know what to say. She just nodded. They sat in silence as the sun sank behind the hills, bathing the living room in gold and ash. Somewhere in the kitchen, an old song played softly on the radio, the one Mom used to hum while baking pies. A few days later, Edward sent her the house keys and an amended will. The property would be held jointly. With one condition, neither could sell, rent, or renovate without the other's consent. Evelyn returned to her trailer, but the following weekend she came back with paint and brushes. She painted the kitchen that turquoise shade she dreamed of as a child. Edward brought his kids for the weekend. They ran through the garden, laughing, picking apples, and asked if she could sleep in Aunt Evelyn's room. Evelyn said, of course. It's your room too. 6 months passed. Mom's jewelry box now sat on a new table in the living room. They never read the letter. They just knew it was there, a reminder that even when memory fades, love endures. Sometimes in the most unexpected places. Even in a will. And especially in the silence between a brother and sister who finally understood. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting the hurt. It's choosing family over being right.